New polling from the Resolve Political Monitor shows that support for treaty processes has plunged following the Voice defeat, falling from 58% in October to 33% this month. So from 2/3 of people in favour of them to 2/3 now against a treaty, Australia with ourselves. No surprises, yet the PM and his government still haven't ruled out a process, pushing on with their Labor Makarrata Commission. Joining me now to discuss this and more, we're joined by Queensland LNP Senator James McGrath and Sky News host Cory Bernardi. Gentlemen, welcome. James, I listened very carefully to the Prime Minister in that week after the Voice. He kept Makarrata on the table. Makarrata, people at home, means treaty. He said, Indigenous leaders are mourning the loss of the Voice. He needed to consult with them, blah, 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 blah. They've still got the millions. It's still on the table. And I think this whole Israel-Gaza conflict meant he simply dodged the issue. Please tell me you're going to pursue it when Parliament's back.
Of course we're going to pursue it, and we're also going to pursue it especially through estimates with the millions of dollars that were wasted on the Voice, but also the millions of dollars that have been put aside for this so-called Truth-Telling Commission. It is in Anthony Albanese's DNA, because he is so left-wing, that he does want to proceed with these issues. But you're right, he is using world events as a cover. He's hoping everyone forgets about it. And in the new year, when people aren't talking about cost of living, he's going to start bringing the treaty back. And I will bet you a lunch at a nice pub somewhere in Brisbane that if he goes with the treaty, he will lose the election in a landslide, because I can't see support for the treaty getting above the teens if it was ever put to a referendum in Australia.
I agree with you, but now he's been walloped on the Voice, James. I reckon he'll try and do it by stealth, and that's why you've just got to keep your eyes open in the Parliament. Cory, you would have perhaps heard my interview then with an expert psychiatrist who, with another chap, has written a paper about why Australia, I guess, is following old trans or gender identity issues or policy for children, stuff that they're not doing overseas. It comes, though, at the same time as the Australian Society of Plastic Surgeons. They're pushing to have 21 different gender-affirming surgeries, including chest mastectomies and genital reconfiguration, subsidised by Medicare. Now, query here, Cory, will this be bureaucrats making the decision, or will it go up to the Health Minister? Will the Parliament get a say? Will they even listen to experts?
Well, generally, Peter, I think it goes to the Health Minister and they decide what subsidies will be made. And based on current form, you think they're going to cave into this. The plastic surgeons merely want the money. But your previous guess is absolutely right, Peter. And I put it in this context. If someone, and this has happened, if someone has presented and said they're fully able-bodied and they say, I identified as someone who's disabled, would we remove a healthy limb? And the answer to that is no. But it has happened elsewhere in the world. And there are people who are now arguing we should be doing that. If someone presents with an eating disorder and they look in the mirror and instead of seeing someone who's very, very thin, they see a fat person, do we give them diet pills and say, yes, you should be thinner? No. We hospitalise them, we give them medical treatment in order so they can see the truth and the reality of what's there. This is a giant social experiment now with children's lives. Adults can mess up their lives as they like. I don't want to pay for the adults messing up their lives. But we shouldn't be having medical experiments on children who obviously have an underlying ailment that can be treated with alternative methods until they can make a decision for themselves.
Last week in the Senate, James, your colleague, Senator Antic from South Australia, put up a motion for an inquiry. He wanted to get experts on all sides to present. Now, they've certainly had an inquiry on this issue in the United Kingdom. It's had a massive impact over there. They've shut down their gender clinic. They've reorientated the policy. They've matched, I guess, what's happening in Europe. We haven't. And in fact, a lot of your colleagues, they voted against having an inquiry. Why would we be scared of an expert inquiry?
I don't know, and maybe you need to get one of my colleagues on who did vote against it. I think there's nothing wrong with the Australian Senate having an inquiry into such matters and ensuring that we have that conversation by getting the experts in the room and hearing from them as to this particular issue. We should not be frightened of hearing from experts and hearing from the truth as to what has happened overseas and how that can have an impact here in Australia.
Cory, this is a different issue, but I think it's really important. Gina Rinehart's out there claiming that the EPA has double counted certain emissions from the Atlas iron mine. She says this is a real worry. It's costing billions of dollars in tax revenue, so money to the bottom line of the Australian budget, and it's also costing thousands of jobs. Now, I've always thought there was a lack of integrity in how these emissions and other green measurements are made. What do you think?
Well, Peter, I agree with you, and I agree with Gina Rinehart. She's Australia's most successful business person, and she's successful for a reason because she can see through the baloney. And what we know is that these green schemes have got nothing to do with the environment. They're all about control, they're all about cash, and they're all about stopping the industries that the greenies don't like. Mining, agriculture, they don't like transport industries. In fact, they want to take us back to the dark ages. And that's why the bureaucrats who, vote green more than they vote anything else, and the whole bunch of other people are trying to implement really negative influences, whether they're justified or not. So it's got nothing to do with the environment. It's all about money and stopping progress in this country. And that's why we need to put a stop to it. And I'm heartened that Peter Dutton's actually prepared to face up to some of this stuff now, which is very encouraging.
It is encouraging, Cory Bernardi. Thank you. Senator James McGrath, great to have your company as always.